Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Stogie Review. I am Walt White here once again for another short ashes video, and I've got a cigar that I've practically beat to death, and that is the Pepin Garcia Cuban Classic. And the difference is this one is a Lancero size, and from what I understand, there were only 100 boxes of these made in 2008, and they were made exclusively for Victor Vitali over at the Cigar Agency. And Victor just happened to send me two or three of them after we briefly talked at the Famous Cigar Expo in Easton, Pennsylvania, just last month. And the name probably rings a bell from the Ortsac 1962 review that I did not all that long ago, just a few weeks ago, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and get opened up and get things started. Try to save a little bit of time in this video and keep it relatively short. After all, it is short ashes. So just briefly look over it real quick, and it looks pretty good. There's a little bit of color variation. Veins are small. I've got a tiny little crack at the foot, but aside from that, it looks really good. There was a tiny pigtail cap on the head, and everything looks pretty neat. Nice, neat triple cap. Nothing looks too short, like it's sort of lifting off. It all looks nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it lit. Now the draw is a little stiff, which is not totally surprising for the ring gauge being so thin, and really, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think it's a 46, but I'd have to double check. Actually, you know what's thinner than that? It's probably 42 or so. But anyway, I'm going to get my cigar lit, and I'll be right back. We'll take a look at the first third and see how she goes. Alright, well, welcome back. I'm still plugging right along. And so far it's going pretty well. The draw's a little stiff, but that's sort of to be expected. Weather's warming up. I don't have the air conditioners in my house just yet. It's been fairly decent. It hasn't been overly humid, overly hot, and as a result, the ambient temperature around my coolers goes up, relative humidity goes up, cigars draw a little slower, get a little stiffer, and burn a little slower. So it's to be expected. The first sample I smoked a couple weeks ago was really smooth sailing, no stiffness to the draw. It was nice and free, and really along the lines of what I like. This one's a little stiffer, but so far so good. The smoke volume is pretty good. I'm getting a decent volume of smoke. It's nice and thick, coats the mouth, easy through the sinuses and whatnot. The flavor is nice and robust. Mainly just a woody and spicy component with that traditional Nicaraguan zing sort of flavor that you're accustomed to with Nicaraguan cigars. That sort of I don't know, that telltale Don Pepin Garcia flavor is dominant in this stick. Body's medium to full. It's pretty smooth, a little on the creamy side as far as the finish goes. And I really don't know whether this is regular production, or I shouldn't say regular production. 100 boxes in 2008, so I don't know whether these were for personal consumption or if they were for standard retail sale. So I'll have to get in touch with Victor over at Cigar Agency and find out exactly what's going on there, whether or not these are a regular, retail sale product, or if these were some limited production thing that he just ordered from Don Pepin and just sort of left it at that. Seeing as that he sent me some with just a little information about the cigar being 100 boxes total, and he mentions in there, if I deem these as reviewable, then please feel free. I'm assuming that they're for sale somewhere at some point. So I'll have to get more information on that and then get back to you on it. But again, so far it's smoking pretty good. Out here in the fairly nice weather, it's starting to cloud up a little bit in the distance, but I'm being attacked by bugs. So we'll see how long I like here before I move in and go back into the bug-free studio. So sit tight. I'll be back. We'll take another look at the second, third, and we'll go from there. Alright, well, I'm about into the what I would consider the second, third now. And cigar smoking more or less the same as it has been from the beginning. Draw is still a little stiff, but it's really not all that bad. Flavors becoming a little more precise, robust. And body and finish are less the same. I'm not getting any more flavor out of it. And not getting much of flavor variation, just sort of more of an in-depth flavor as we go along. The stiff draw is kind of wearing on me a little bit. I can feel that it's pretty stiff at the foot of the cigar, so I'm wondering if it may be a little bit of a combination of being overfilled and the fact that the relative humidity is a little higher than I generally keep them. And just to touch base on what I mentioned earlier, relative humidity has everything to do with temperature. It's all relative. So when the temperature in my house gets warmer, the ambient temperature around the cooler gets warmer, and temperature inside the cooler gets warmer. The air then holds more moisture, so cigars begin to swell a little bit, and that's where I'm getting a little bit of an issue with the stiffness, I think. I'm not sure whether it's a little bit to do with the fact that it might be a touch overfilled or what the case may be, but so far that's the only problem I've been having. Burn line's been fairly straight. Nice light colored ash, tightly compacted, nice and conformed. It's been pretty neat. I've got, I don't know, half a dozen in the ashtray that are about half-inch to 3/4 of an inch long. Actually, probably more along the lines of half-inch long. But all in all, it's been going pretty well. So I'm going to take one more break. I'll be back one more time. We'll take a look at the final third, wrap up the cigar, and I'll let you be on your way. Alright, well, I guess it's about time to wrap up my Don Pepin Garcia Cuban Classic Lancero. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, with the exception of the stiff draw. And I guess this is an indicator I probably need to stick the air conditioners in the window, even though it's still fairly comfortable. It's still a little warm in the house, and in essence, it brings up the relative humidity in my cigars. And I've got a little bit of a crack going on. It was just under actually happened when I removed the primary band. Flavors are primarily that I guess you could call it a classic Nicaraguan zingy sort of Don Pepin Garcia taste, and there's a lot of wood and spicy notes to it, especially through the sinuses. You get a lot of those, almost like a sweet spice through the sinuses. Very enjoyable cigar, easy to smoke, and overall very enjoyable. Medium to full in body, maybe on the cusp of being full. Nice and creamy, smooth finish. I really enjoy these more than the Robustas I ordered. I don't even know how long ago it was. Probably several months ago. I ordered I think it was like 10 5-packs on Joe Cigar or something like that, and they came in and they weren't actually they weren't nearly as good as I remembered the Perlas being. And I sort of shied away from them after that. I stopped buying them, just thinking that since Pepin's got his own factory up and going, growing his own tobacco, maybe something changed along the way, and it just wasn't up to my, what I think of Don Pepin Garcia Cuban Classic. But in essence, it really could have been just the fact that the ring gauge was much larger than the Perlas that I was used to, which were a 40. And this one's getting right back into the sort of flavor profile that I enjoy, or the conciseness of the flavors, and I think that has a lot to do with the ring gauge, and the fact that these are from 2008 probably doesn't hurt if things did change along the way. These may have been before that transition, simply because these were bought exclusively for Cigar Agency in 2008, like I mentioned, 100 boxes total. And I really need to get in touch with Victor and see exactly what's going on, whether or not these are for sale, or if they're just sort of special occasion cigars that he, sells at events or gives away at events or something like that. I'd be really interested to find out whether or not these are readily available to the consumer, because I really did enjoy them. And if they're not overpriced or above what I would typically pay for a Don Pepin Garcia cigar, I would certainly buy them again. Um, and as I said before, the other ones that had a smoother draw to it were much more enjoyable. And I think that the problem with this one is just the fact that the relative humidity may be a little high on it, or the RH. So all in all, really enjoyed it, and hope that they're readily available so that you can look them up if it sounds like something you'd be in. So until next time, happy smoking.